Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Rituals in Sacred Stone and my rituals in a drawer. uh, Once the weather changes, we'll go outside and we'll do this in other places too, but we're still in wintertime, and here in Chicago, it is still cold and there is still snow. So I have certain limitations for what I can do. But today we're going to light extra candles, and you all know what's going on in the world, which is very disturbing in so many different ways. And it seems like the old patriarchal ways, which the whole earth is leaving, the new consciousness of light has won. We know that. It has already won. Let's see, this is actually what I intended to get a new candle. Well, interesting. So now we have candles of old and new, because that's how they chose to be. And there's so many remarkable things happening right now. This is a ritual for the new moon, not the full moon. So I have a smaller nautilus seashell here that's also very shiny. And here I have a picture from Chicago. This is the people gathering outside the Ukrainian cathedral in Chicago. And it's a beautiful cathedral. I've actually been inside. Absolutely gorgeous. Lots of gold on the inside. Lots of beautiful imagery. And people in Chicago have shown up in droves about this. You see the Ukrainian flag is being waved. But this is here in the United States. So you have the US flag and the Ukrainian flag. So we need to keep these people with us today, in support and in understanding of that this is where the battle is taking place. And these people have somehow agreed to take one for the team, it seems, because we're all in agreement that war is over. Maybe not all, but that's what we're working towards. And that is the new thought of the earth. We're not going to have this war stuff going on anymore. We're going to go into a global thing where we're actually sharing resources. And that's going to be the new way of living, the new way of doing things. And I'm waiting to see how this comes and manifests itself. But it seems we're heading for some really interesting new innovation about how to globally share the resources that we have, being it food, being it finances, being it ideas, being it new ways of looking at life itself, and ways of cooperating. And this is also something that Mars and Venus is bringing out. We talked about them last time, that they are now in this sort of marriage ceremony. They're on a phenomenal honeymoon together across the sky. And Mars is the individuality and the go forth, and here we go. And also new inventions. What's the latest? What's the newest thought? What's the newest inventive way we can live together? And Venus is the one who says, how do we relate this to everybody? How do we relate this out in the world? How do we share this information? How do we live this new thought all together? So you have the you can call it a contradiction of freedom, that's Mars, and relationships, which is Venus. And then we're making the choice of instead of thinking freedom or relationship, freedom from relationship or relationship without freedom, we're now thinking freedom within relationships. And that is a new thought. That is a new way of thinking of relating to each other. Another thing I've included today, since we are talking uh, of balance of the earth, and another planet is also announced herself on the sky and being part of our star picture at the moment, and that is Vesta. And Vesta is a high priestess and has that kind of energy with her, and will then um, call us for uh, action, but call us for spiritual action, to find a sensible spiritual way to solve our very practical problems. And I'm including this image here, which is by Courtney Davis, who is an Irish artist. And I bought this from him on uh, on Tara Hill in Ireland, which was quite a treat for me to be visiting in Ireland and meeting the artist himself, and then purchasing this phenomenal image from him, which has the image for me of Gaia being underneath the earth. And just yesterday, I talked to a woman who's into global issues regarding climate change. And she said, well, we have to understand that there is so much life above the earth, but there's also so incredibly much more life underneath the earth, meaning then the biosphere, that all these plants that are relating to each other because they live in the same soil over miles and square miles and acres, are relating to each other and creating a sort of a nation of life, of living things on a certain square mileage of land. We were at a little forest preserve with a lovely little pond, and even though it's somewhat small, it's a couple of acres big, but uh, it has history. It was dug by the work crews submitted by Roosevelt in the 30s. So the pond is a man-made pond, but it's made for water retention in that area, and then a whole little forest has grown up around it. And this little piece of land is sort of a little triangle between other structures in a suburb of Chicago, and has been allowed to be this little forest preserve. And we sat there under a tree on a bench and talked about the situation on the earth for a while. And she specifically mentioned um, this consciousness that is inside the earth, with all the roots of the different plants meeting with each other and talking to each other. And we have so much to learn. We have so much to learn from nature and from how nature works together. And I think we're on our way there. There is a collective understanding of that. Um, we need to protect the nature in our environment. Uh, and we're getting better and better at it. And we're learning from each other. And all that is wonderful. So here I have my little globe that's going to be with us today. It's a map of the earth. And she's going to be blessed by Gaia. And then she's going to be in the water bowl, which is then both for cleansing and for renewal of our new things, renewal of our way of thinking, renewal of our way of acting, and our way of looking towards the future. Today I've also included food for the gods. So this is a glass of white wine. White wine is alive, or all wine for that matter is alive in its own way, more so than water. Water is wonderful too for the purification and for all these things, but for using something, an item that's alive in here, I use wine. Sometimes white, sometimes red, but today I'm using white. And here is then almonds and chocolate with ginger inside. And I found that this is a way um, to ask the universe for help, engage all the angels or spiritual beings that are floating about, and ask for their help, and then offering a thank you in return. Um, so this ceremonial food for them, I will share a little bit with it of it later on, and then after this ritual is finished, I will do, put it in my garden, and at that time it will then go to nature and go to the gods to do what they feel like doing with it. But it's our offering, also because these are a little precious to me. The little um, chocolate pieces are something I bought in Atlanta on a trip, and I treasure them, and it's then for me a little bit precious to give it away. And I think that's what we need to do from time to time. And right now we are asking for help. We're asking for this understanding of the biosphere and how everything relates, all microbes, all the roots relate to each other in the ground. And we, of course, see the lovely things that grow above the ground. And we hope to take care of some of that. But we need to understand how deeply rooted, rooted this type of consciousness is, and how powerful it is, and how we are ourselves connected to all that just by breathing the air. We breathe the air that we share with the trees and the flowers and the animals and everything and each other. Um, the air that I breathe now, that's being shared with my incense burning, was also breathed by Cleopatra and by the people who lived in biblical times, and Buddha, and all these, and Muhammad, and all these phenomenal, lovely people who have influenced the earth have also breathed the same air. And even though I'm in Northern America, I'm in Chicago, I grew up in Norway, I have all that air inside me too. I've also traveled, I breathe air many places, but I know that wherever I am, whatever I breathe is also historical, biological entities and units that have been part of our very powerful history for such an incredibly long time. So, with that introduction and getting ourselves, let's see if I said everything I wanted to say. Yeah. I will do the ritual as we usually do, and we will do a little meditation. And this time, the meditation is dedicated to balance, and balance in, and peace in Ukraine, peace in Russia, and that we can hear the voice of both the Ukrainian people who want peace and the Russian people who don't want their country to be involved in a enormously big conflict that's not necessary. People in Russia could use the resources of their country for much better purposes. And we also send then good energy to all the people who are leaders at the moment, who are discussing all this, who are having meetings, who are talking about it. And that means the people, all the leaders of the world, but also of NATO, of EU, of the Russian, well, I hate to call it empire, but that's kind of the way they're behaving at the moment. And maybe they would like to be called that. Maybe Putin would like to call himself the leader of an empire. But it's not going to become an empire because we're all going to be countries, and we're going to be sovereign in our own way, and both be Mars, having our individuality, but also being Venus and being in balanced, beautiful relationships with everybody and everything, and acknowledge that that's what we actually are. All right, this is still the stone um, pointing north and connecting us with the north and showing us the way. And right now, I think we need a lot of way showing. So we're asking the angels and the masters to help us with that. We're introducing the west and the cleansing water and the motion of the earth and asking for things to be cleansed that needs to be cleansed and for old consciousness to be left behind because we are in the new time where the new consciousness is what's important, is what we're going towards. And then we have the south, that is the light, and we're hoping that it will bring light and enlightenment to all heads involved in all this and bring and sustain life. Sustain life. And of course, that's what I've talked about many times. This makes the arrow going north, and this makes the circle of the earth going round and round. And here is the east and the element of air. And east will show us the new way and give us the new ideas. And it's been said that there are some new inventions coming that will solve a whole bunch of problems, especially things like energy, which we seem to need a lot of, and it's going to become a much simpler thing than what we've ever had and change the world economy. So we're waiting for that to show itself. I believe it's already created. We just need to wait for it to present itself on the world arena. And then we're back to the north. So now we have established that we have this force going this way, and we have this force going this way, which is also very Mars and very Venus and very male and female uh, forces in nature and in the earth itself. We're also honoring the direction going upwards to the sky and downwards to the earth, and again honoring Gaia that we're meeting with. And we're honoring the direction of inward within ourselves, meaning everything we take in, everything we know, everything that's coming towards us. And then also the opposite of that, which is then how we relate to the earth. So this is again a Mars and a Venus motion that we have very much exemplified on the earth of now. All right. I invite you to join me in a short meditation. And again, I will use my own mantras. I learned transcendental meditation when I was 19 years old, and I've been practicing it ever since. But for your mantra, unless you have your own, I will suggest just the sound of the universe, which very much works the same way. That it simply gives you a path to go from your head, where we usually are in our attention and our awareness, and go deep inside ourselves and land somewhere in our middle region, somewhere in our heart, close to our heart, and where we stop thinking so much and you feel. And it's also a way of going inward to find a way outward. It feels like you go inside until you're a dot, and from that dot you expand to include the entire universe. So I welcome you to join me in that journey. Om. Om. And I invite the masters who are observing us, the angels who are protecting us, and all the other beings who we can't see but are helping humankind as much as they can. And I invite them to join us today in a celebration of new life and an honoring of a population that needs some help. So I'll end this ritual, as I always do, with this prayer, which you can find on the internet. It's the Aramaic, a translation from Aramaic of the original Lord's Prayer. It starts with, O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration. You can find it, but I'm going to read it here. This is a little booklet that I created of handmade paper. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with creativity so that we may be empowered. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us, as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. Amen. Later, I will create other videos where I will talk more about this prayer in relationship to the Lord's Prayer as we know it. It will come at a later date. Thank you for joining me today. And we now send all the elements and directions back. And we thank all the angels and masters and gods that have been with us today. Thank you for joining me.